Hi friends, thanks for joining me today. Today's story is called Carlos and the Squash Plant. It is a fun story that is based in Mexico. So pull up a comfy chair and enjoy the story with me. And as a special bonus, this story is also available in Spanish, and I'll put a link to that down below in the description. Enjoy! Carlos and the Squash Plant. Story by Jan Romero Stevens, illustrated by Jean Arnold. Stay tuned until the end of the story because there's a special little surprise for you at the end. Enjoy! Carlos lived in the Española Valley nestled in the mountains of northern Mexico. His mother and father were farmers and tended a large garden plot next to their thick-walled adobe home. They grew large green watermelons, sweet corn, juicy red tomatoes, and small green chiles, so hot they burned the roof of Carlos's mouth. But his favorite vegetable was squash. His mother used it for making calabacitas, a spicy dish that combines the flavors of corn, squash, cheese, and green chiles. Carlos spent most of his days helping in the garden right alongside his brother and father. Together, they planted the seeds, weeded the long, even rows, and gathered the vegetables when they were ripe. Carlos worked so hard that the rich brown earth ended up everywhere, under his fingernails, between his toes, and inside his ears. But he hated taking baths, and he especially hated washing his ears. His mother would warn him, "Si no te limpias las orejas, te va a brotar una calabacita." If you don't wash your ears, a squash plant will grow in them. But of course, Carlos didn't believe her. One day, he had been in the garden all day and was especially dirty. When he came in the house, his mother told him he had to have a bath before dinner. "Aw, Mama, do I have to?" asked Carlos, but his mother just pointed toward the bathroom door. Carlos went into the bathroom and shut the door, but instead of taking a bath, he just wiped off his face with a washcloth. Then he put on his pajamas and went into the kitchen and sat down at the dinner table with his brother, mother, and father. "Did you take your bath?" his mother asked, looking at Carlos with a raised eyebrow. "Sí, Mama, I did," he said. Papa only shook his head. After dinner, Carlos went to bed early. When the bright summer sun shone in his bedroom window in the morning, he woke up quickly. He had an itchy sort of feeling in his ear, and when he started to scratch it, he felt something strange. Carlos ran to the mirror. A tiny light green stem with two pear-shaped leaves was growing in his right ear. Just as he was wondering what to do, his mother called him for breakfast. He could smell the aroma of chorizo and eggs frying. "Just a minute, Mama," said Carlos, and he ran to his closet where he found a wide-brimmed hat. He pulled it down over both ears and walked into the kitchen. "Good morning, son," said his mother. "Sit down and have your breakfast. But why are you wearing that hat?" "It's such a sunny day today. I don't want to get the sun in my eyes," answered Carlos, and he ate his breakfast so fast he was outside before his mother could get a second look. Carlos worked outside all morning and ate his lunch sitting on a branch of a huge cottonwood tree, while a thin stream of water ran beneath him. At nightfall he came inside, and when his mother saw him, she told him to take a bath before dinner. "Oh, Mama, do I have to?" he asked. But Mama just pointed toward the bathroom door. Carlos went into the bathroom, but again, instead of taking a bath, he only wiped his face off with a wet washcloth. Then he sat down at the table. "Carlos, did you take your bath?" asked his mother as she served dinner. "Sí, Mama, I did," said Carlos, and he quickly ate his dinner and then went upstairs to bed. He was so tired that he fell asleep immediately. The next morning, when the sun felt warm on his face, his right ear was itching more than ever. He jumped out of bed and looked in the mirror. The green plant that had merely been a tiny shoot the day before had grown to about 4 inches in length. 3 more leaves had joined the first two. Ay, caramba, thought Carlos. But just then he heard his mother calling him, and he smelled the aroma of fresh, warm cornmeal cakes cooking on the stove. Carlos ran across the hall to his brother's room and found a big hat on the highest closet shelf. He pulled it down over both ears and walked into the kitchen. "Good morning, son. Sit down for your breakfast," his mother said. "But why are you wearing that big hat?" "Oh, the sun is so hot. I don't want to get it in my eyes," Carlos said, and he ate only a few bites of his breakfast and hurried outside. That evening, Carlos came in from the garden dirtier than ever, and once again his mother told him to take a bath before dinner. But Carlos only wiped off his face and returned to the kitchen, the big hat still on his head. "Carlos, did you take your bath?" his mother asked. "Sí, mamá," answered Carlos, pulling the hat farther down over his ears. After dinner, he went straight to bed. Carlos woke up late the next morning, and his head felt heavy on one side. He didn't need to look in the mirror to know what had happened. A long green vine with yellow blossoms hung down the side of his pillow and trailed onto the floor. Carlos tried pulling it out. He tried breaking it off. He tried stomping on it with his foot, but nothing would rid him of the squash plant, which was now several feet long. "Ay, caramba!" he thought to himself, and just then he heard his mother calling him for breakfast. He ran into his parents' bedroom, where he found an even larger hat in his father's closet. Coiling the squash vine on top of his head, he pulled the hat down over both ears, then walked into the kitchen. "Good morning, son. Have some warm tortillas and honey," his mother said. "But why are you wearing Papa's hat?" "It's very sunny outside today. I want to keep the sun out of my eyes," said Carlos. "But the sun isn't shining today. It's windy and cloudy," said his mother. Carlos didn't answer, but rolled up a tortilla and took it outside with him. Sure enough, the weather was breezy and cool. Tumbleweeds blew down the road, and Carlos had to hold on to his hat with one hand while he weeded the garden with the other. Just as it was getting dark, Carlos let go of the hat for just a moment, and a gust of wind carried it down the road. At the same time, Carlos heard his mother calling him inside. Carlos covered his head with his arms, and before Mamma could even ask him to take a bath, he had filled up the tub with water. Desperately, he began scrubbing his left ear. At the same time, he felt a tingly, itchy sensation in the other ear, and amazingly, the squash plant began to shrink. The more he scrubbed, the smaller it became, until finally the vine had completely disappeared. Carlos dried himself off, put on his pajamas, and walked out to the kitchen, where he sat down for dinner. "Mamma, I have finished my bath, and I even remembered to wash my ears," said Carlos. "You are a good boy, and for you I have cooked your favorite dish, calabacitas," his mother said. And as she put the steaming plate down in front of him, she winked at Papa, who pretended not to notice. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I did. Carlos had a squash plant growing out of his ear. Well, kids, make sure that when mom or dad says to wash up, you do just that. Who knows what could happen? Well, as promised, I'm about to reveal to you the special surprise at the end of this story. Stay tuned. It's a yummy surprise. And just before I reveal that surprise to you, do me a favor and hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. That would really help out my channel. And if you hit subscribe and that notification button, you'll know when my next video comes out. Thank you. If you've never tried calabacitas before, here is the recipe, both in Spanish and in English. I can't wait to try it myself. Again, thanks for watching. Until next time, peace.